Yeah, it's just 16 months since Shinzo Abe came to power as Prime Minister in Japan, and he's brought in a whole range of economic measures since then to try to kickstart the economy and dig it out of the rut that it's been in for the past decade or so. Tomorrow, Tuesday, a very important tax rise will take place. It's the sales tax that will increase, the first time in 17 years that it will increase in Japan, but there are fears that this may unsettle the very delicate recovery in the Japanese economy. It is, though, an important reform the country has to make, despite new figures showing that factory output in the country fell by 2% in January. Jennifer Lush has been looking ahead to what might happen.
Spending up big before the new sales tax kicks in.
It doesn't make sense to wait, knowing things are just going to get more expensive.
On April 1st, Japan will see its value-added tax rise for the first time since the late 1990s. It'll go from its current 5% to 8%, then potentially rise again to 10% by October 2015. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is touting the move as a turning point for Japan's troubled economy. Since the country's financial and property bubbles burst, government spending has leapt while tax revenues have stagnated. Topping 1 quadrillion yen, Tokyo now has the highest national debt in the rich world, twice the size of its entire economy. Abe says the hike is necessary in tackling this spiralling debt, and it's the next phase of Abenomics, designed to introduce structural reforms for long-term growth. But economists fear the increase will throttle domestic consumption, which accounts for 60% of GDP, killing off recovery completely.
After the tax hike, demand will drop suddenly. A common practice among companies in this kind of situation is to put new products on the market to minimize the effects of the sales drop.
Yurutaro Hashimoto was the last Japanese leader who dared to raise the consumption tax. The economy tanked and he was forced out of office by an angry electorate. Hoping history won't repeat itself, the government plans to placate those struggling in the wake of the increase by offering one-off cash payments to low-income households and home buyers.
Well, let's take a look and see if those fears are affecting the Asian markets in trading this Monday. And it's actually been positive on the Nikkei so far, up 0.6%, as you can see there in Tokyo. Generally positive picture across the Asian markets, except in Shanghai, where shares are dipping into the red. This after the Chinese premier attempted to soothe investor concern on Friday by saying the government would up its stimulus if needed to try and help that cooling growth rate in China.
To Greece now, the Parliament there, to approve reforms, needs to release more funds from its bailout.
Yeah, yet another tricky parliamentary vote for Greece. It's managed to pass through after a 14-hour debate, in fact, and some heated comments, particularly from the leader of the opposition, Syriza party, who accused the government of selling the country piece by piece. These latest reforms will help to speed up privatisations in Greece, something demanded by the international lenders for some time. Up for sale are expected with the country's 2 biggest ports, as well as its national railway operator and the country's 4th biggest bank, Eurobank. Now, in exchange, Greece will get 8.3 billion euros from its international lenders, which will help it to repay debt that's due later this year. But now it's received more than 90% of its bailout. The finance minister says things are beginning to look up there.
We managed to stay on our feet. Of course, mistakes and injustices were made, but we are trying to rectify these now. Because now, with greater security and stability, we all owe it to ourselves as citizens to work together for shared principles and values, to have fertile and constructive discussions, to plan for a better future, so that in 10 years from now, we will be one of the most culturally, politically, and economically developed countries.
And finally, 2014 seen some really big business deals so far, but there is one sector that really stands out in all this, isn't there?
Yeah, technology and media, massive money being spent in that area so far this year. According to data from the research firm Merger Market, the value of deals in the sector has topped $174 billion just in the 3 months of 2014 that we've had so far. That's the highest it's been in 8 years. Now, the big highlight deals that we've seen in that time, of course, have been the US cable operator Comcast taking over Time Warner Cable. That was $61 billion. Facebook buying WhatsApp, another $16 billion for them as well. There were, in fact, 346 deals worth over $5 billion done already this year, adding to an ongoing fear of perhaps a bubble in the technology sector in particular, but showing there is big money to be made if you're willing to bet on the newest fad.
It's all about technology with Stephen in business, isn't it? Let's go something a little bit more grubby now, shall we? With the newspapers. Kel